Ali nagrada u biti jeste priča o ljudima. To nije priča samo o odgoju, obrazovanju, o nastavnom planu i programu, o praksama. Odgoj i obrazovanje je uvijek i isključivo priča o ljudima. Ova nagrada vam neće donijeti slavu, neće vam donijeti veću platu, neće vam donijeti bogatstvo te vrste. Ali ako se samo malo okrenete oko sebe, i oni koji su sada nominovani, koji su bili, i svi vi ovdje, porodice u pratnji koji živite, sigurna sam, njihovu profesiju svakoga dana, ja mislim da ćete shvatiti da u stvari kroz ovu nagradu smo svi dobili ono najbogatije što čovjek može dobiti, a to je moć ljudske povezanosti.
Welcome. It is with huge sadness and with great respect that we come together today to celebrate the legacy left behind by Rada. She left way, way too early. We are all driven by the same power of human connection that she so passionately believed in and that she has promoted throughout her life. We join today across the 3 networks where she has dedicated her great passion, her creativity, her courage, and her efforts. ISA, the Network of Education Policy Centers, and the Center for Educational Initiatives Step by Step Bosnia and Herzegovina. In all these 3 networks, she has left a huge imprint, just like she has made a huge difference in the thinking and the practices in education in her own country and beyond. Her huge contributions, her innovative approaches, and the way in which she challenged us have laid important foundations in what we are today at ISA as a network driven by the power of human connection. Rada has been part of the ISA network for close to 25 years. It is hard for many of us to imagine an ISA without you, dear Rada. Your legacy will always be part of ISA's DNA. Through this commemoration, we honor the mentor, the pedagogue, the leader, the advocate, the visionary, the beautiful singer, the bringer of joy, the supportive friend and colleague we all miss so much, our Rada.
Dear all, thank you for joining us at this sad occasion on behalf of the Network of Education Policy Centers. Rada was about connecting people, and she brings us together once again. NEPS was the most recent of Rada's professional families, as Rada and us connected only in 2012. However, the enormity of the legacy she leaves us with, we still need to process. As is the case with great people, and Rada was a giant, she lived and worked at maximum speed, with greatest of energies, with mind-boggling creativity and the finest of minds. Within days of joining us, she impacted our work and our lives. In that hot July of 2012, when she first joined us, we instantly got a glimpse of the magnitude that will ascend on us. Both as professionals, for her enthusiastic and thoughtful input into the content discussions, but also as a person with her easiness of communication, open attitude, and even a beautiful evening of guitar playing and singing on the beach. Rada had many professional roles, and I will here mention only a few. She was an educational expert, excelling in teacher education and school improvement, who taught us how to understand and communicate difficult concepts. She was the greatest trainer and facilitator. She was a thinker and a strategist. She made us question what we do and how we do it, as reflection was one of her finest qualities that she imposed on herself as well as on others. But she also made it a must for us to imagine and think of visions. In the very last of her professional inputs, she gave us a beautiful vision of the future of education that I hope we can all follow. All of this was always underlined with integrity, the authenticity of her values and beliefs, and with greatest care to all details. Perfectionist she was, but one that made us better people and better professionals. We are sad and we will miss her as a professional and as a friend forever. But Rada was not about sadness. She was about life and action and celebrating good things and people. We hope this event will do justice to her life and legacy and help us all to remember her with joy.
Dear educators around the world and dear people who found education as the most important thing in the world. Thank you. Thank you for being here to celebrate Radmila's legacy. Thank you for keeping the memory in her, but maybe more important, enhancing her legacy for the future. Not just we in the Center of Educational Initiatives Step by Step in Bosnia and Herzegovina, not just teachers here in Bosnia, but the whole country faces this tremendous loss. We saw that with the feedback we got, hundreds of letters and thousands of people who share the memory. That day, on February 13, we could not face the information we got. It cannot happen to our Radmila. There were no thing in the world that she could not make it. We, at the Step by Step, were witnesses of that. What she dreamed about, she was able to make it. Thank you once more, dear people, for being here. In the name of Step by Step and a community of 8,000 innovative teachers, therefore we pledge that we will keep dreaming, dear Rada, that we will be brave and consistent, that we will be a hard-working team which initiate, create, and inspire, and that we will not give up, for sure.
This is Mark Ginsberg, and I am absolutely delighted to say a brief few words in recognition of my dear friend and colleague, Rada. Rada, we miss you so very much, all of your friends and colleagues, and we salute you. We remember you for your great wisdom, for your contributions and positive consequences that you have made in support of children and families, both in your nation, in the region, but literally across the entire globe. Your work has had an enormous impact. But I want to say that Rada's person, even more than her work, has been even more impactful. She's been a friend, she's been a colleague, she's been a person who modeled for us the right way to do things and to do things that make a difference. Rada was one of those unique human beings who could be direct and honest and warm, empathic and sensitive all at the same time. And she was a person who always brought wisdom. She brought good judgment. She was caring. And when one defines caring, the great philosopher Milton Mayerhoff once said that caring at its essence is helping others to grow. Rada, our dear friend and colleague who we miss terribly, is a person who cared because consistently and always she helped others to grow. Thanks to all of my friends and colleagues who are in pain and who grieve the loss of our dear friend. I grieve with you, and I know that we miss Rada, but she will always be remembered for the person she was, the work that she did, and the care that she exhibited to all. Thank you so much.
Ja živim i dičem nešto što se zove pedagogija. Ponešto se nauči i na fakultetu, ali u stvari sam vas slagala, jel? Uopšte nisam ovo naučila na fakultetu, nigdje veze, što bi rekli. Mislim, ja sam počela da učim, mislim, u 30. godini, otkrila sam ljepotu učenja i ništa mi se ljepše u životu nije desilo. Sreća moja da sam ljepotu čitanja otkrila kao jaka mala, ali ljepotu učenja sam otkrila negdje kad sam počela da živim i dišem i sa strašću radim ono što radim i kad je učenje postalo način otkrivanja sebe i pronalaženja odgovora na pitanja koja su mene zanimala. Nas krase 3 prekrasne mane. Pa nam kažu vrlo često da smo naivni. A što smo naivni? Zato što vjerujemo u ljudskost, vjerujemo u solidarnost, vjerujemo u poštenje, vjerujemo u dobrotu. Pa nek smo naivni. Pa nam kažu, a da, vi ste patetični. Patetični smo zato što vjerujemo u ljubav, u prijateljstvo, u djecu, zato što smo svi pomalo djeca i zato što nam nije teško biti djeca svaki dan. Pa onda nam kažu da smo malo i ludi, jel da? Jel vam kažu? Dobro došli u ovu grupu malo ludih, malo naivnih i malo patetičnih. Tebi riječi idu lako, tebi će to biti najmanji problem. I oni koji me dobro poznaju kažu, ajde, bar ti možeš puno govoriti. Ali ja sam se, ljudi, malo umorila i od slušanja govora i od držanja govora. Ja sam se zaželjela dobre zajedničke akcije. Ja sam se zaželjela da radimo, a manje da pričamo.
Somebody would say from the setting of this video that is going to be a very sad farewell message to Rada. But every one of us who knew Rada knows that each time you meet Rada is always about happiness, positiveness, about laughing, singing, telling jokes or funny situations from all of our projects and activities that we done all around our countries. I had a great privilege of working and knowing Rada through our NEPTS family, especially from the years we shared together in the NEPTS board. And the first thing I noticed that Rada really was keen to talk about big ideas, about the future of education, huge concepts, systemic change. But on the other hand, she was the first one to call for action, because teachers need our support, students are waiting somehow something to change, they have their needs, and if the official institutions are not responding to these calls, we should do what we can in responding to their questions and to their needs. She was a person of action, but also, as I said, she was a person of really systemic thinking about education. But going and working with teachers was the first thing she always preferred than anything else. The second thing that I would like to point out is something that she and her wonderful team from Step by Step Bosnia and Herzegovina were doing for the last several years is about putting enormous emphasis on values in education. Values in education is something that we regularly forgot, or something that is regularly forgotten in dealing with education. Everyone who visited Balkans or worked here know that we sometimes describe this part of the Europe as a windy one, where change is happening all the time, as always something is happening. But and for the last 30 years, certainly we experienced those kind of winds, but also we experienced enormous number of international institutions, experts, organizations who were coming here in goodwill, but sometimes with very predefined visions and the concepts of our educational system. And also Rada was the first one to point out that this region is not blackboard, that we have excellent teachers who have enormous experience, who know their job. We have also history of some kind of our own history of good practices and something to share with the world, that we are not only here to adapt to or replicate something from outside, but that everything which is going to be implemented in our countries has to be contextualized in our local environment. She also pointed out values in all of these reforms, there is no a single year in the Balkan countries where we don't have at least 1 or 2 educational reforms. But there was Rada always pointing out that regardless of the documents and papers and strategy, we have to have people on the first place, teachers and students and their well-being at the first place. And whatever we do, we have to do that having in mind their well-being and long-term effect of our activities. So values are something that I would like to point out, and something that she also pointed out in her work in education. The last thing is about something that regularly was astonishing to me, as I'm not a person who is more on a realistic side of thinking about education, but rather was completely on positive side. And being realistic in Balkan countries in working in education is a better word for being not so hopeful about big changes. But Rada was there every time to say that small scale actions and small group of people can make a difference. And she and her team showed that through very dedicated work through their community of innovative teachers. And she showed that really a small number of dedicated persons, of dedicated professionals, of dedicated teachers can make a small difference, even though that difference is in the classroom, but it's difference which is making the mechanism of changes working, which is the most important thing. So I see Rada as a person of action, a person of values, and a person of optimism. And even though she's not with us anymore, I think that she gave us at least 3 points of guidance for our work, for our next work in education, that we have to stay aware and do things that we are talking about, be people of action, be ready for action, that we have to have in mind values of education, humanistic values, and outmost we have to be more positive about outcomes, because each our investment in people, in students or teachers is going to be it will pay back, but in some totally different currency, which is not perishable, but is more sustainable. And with these activities and sustaining these values, and with having optimism, for sure things will change, but only we have to be a little bit patient. So I would like in the end to thank Rada for all her lessons about being positive, about putting the biggest importance on values, and about being ready for action and for supporting I think the most precious part of our system, which is educational system.
When I say Rada, I smile. When I think about her, I think about love, joy, belonging, and unbreakable personal and professional connection. Rada and I share similar roots, history, hurt, black humor, resilience, and hope. And together, over 20 years of working side by side with amazing, wonderful, and strong women and some men, from the step-by-step program in ISA, we grew our wings jointly, and we enjoyed flying and plunging into the new and the exciting. And what a ride it was. Rada is one of the most beautiful symbols of ISA. She belonged to all of us, and yet she was free and independent. She belonged to herself. Thanks to Rada, we all learned a lot and celebrated life through joint creation, exploration, laughter, music, and play. One cannot talk about Rada and separate her great personality from her professionalism. She lived her profession, she breathed pedagogy. Every situation was a learning opportunity, a teachable moment. In her life, the borders between being and working were blurred. She walked the talk. Her passion and joy were the same whether she was singing and dancing or handling even the most challenging professional tasks. Rada worked hard and had endless energy. She could develop a guidebook for online learning in only a few days without sleeping and with a smile. She used to do an 8-hour training standing barefoot because her feet were sore, but she did not want to stop. And when you would tell her, bravo, amazing, she would just laugh and say, well, why so much fuss? Nothing special. You had to have a fit body and mind to keep pace with her. She was a challenger. She was always coming with critical questions and daring ideas. Sometimes we had an impression that she was pushing too far and too hard and too strong, and we used to look at each other and whisper, here she comes again. In the end, we followed her lead or got involved in her discussions. We knew what she was doing and what she believed, that we as individuals, organizations, and the network can do and have to do more and to do better, because we owe it to children, families, educators, and society as a whole. Rada believed only in authority that enriches human lives and existence, not in titles, but in one's capacity and willingness to support, nurture, protect, and inspire others. She was driven by her values and not ready to compromise them. And so many times she paid a very high price for that. But she never stopped speaking out. Rada was one of the greatest advocates and believers in the power of education and teachers' professionalism. Along with her team and colleagues, she established an annual award to celebrate the best teachers from preschool to secondary school level in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and to change the narrative around education. She wanted people to focus on in-country strengths and to abandon the widely spread deficit approach. I will never forget the faces of teachers attending Oscar-like ceremonies in the National Theatre in Sarajevo. So many proud and sparkling eyes in one place. Networks were made for Rada because she was a natural-born connector, and she knew how to mobilize people around ideas and values. This talent, combined with her bravery, resulted in an extraordinary tradition that she started 10 years ago in the region that I come from, an annual regional conference bringing together educators from the countries of the former Yugoslavia. By believing in solidarity, professionalism across borders, dreams that we all have for our children, the power of education and human connections. She united professionals from our region still recovering from devastating conflicts. I call it Rada magical healing mathematics. She refused to divide and subtract and was entirely focused on adding, multiplying, and thinking outside of the box. With this conference, she set up an example for so many colleagues in the ISA network. And in the region, she left a legacy of long-lasting professional and personal connections. My dear Rada, you did a great job. And yes, there is a reason to make a fuss, because you gave us so much love and joy and left us with a list of professional questions that we did not have time to answer together. To celebrate your life and legacy, we will keep on searching for answers. Rest in power, you beautiful warrior of the heart.
She was natural-born educator. She was passionate initiator of change. She was a woman with a vision. She was a bursting energy. She was belief in the power of human connection. We need a package. Meaning that we need to rephrase complicated scientific language to be understandable for all of those who are in close contact with children, from parents to the practitioners. Package is a present to them, and when they open it, they find all they needed to implement educational science in a classroom in high-quality, playful way. I wish you were here. That means she is being passionate with exploring some new topics, and she needs people to discuss those ideas with them. She knew how to connect ideas, people, and contexts into stories about successful education. We will make a nice pie from lousy ingredients. That means that either project is not meaningful enough, or that we do not have adequate resources, but that we are obliged to put all of our professional efforts to make an excellent product. Rada never compromised on quality, never. We'll think about the money tomorrow, meaning that we do not have money now, but that it is not going to stop her from realizing her vision and create something meaningful and inspiring. When others saw the potential of her ideas, they joined. And they provided resources. That is how the BISA Teachers Conferences came about. Let's drink coffee. That was synonym for informal learning. We used to learn from each other over the coffee in the crowded restaurants, telling jokes and gossips using the language of education. As strange as it sounds, we managed to gain better understanding of many concepts and principles of quality education by applying them in our everyday life. And all that thanks to Rada and her coffee and cigarette breaks. Bujrum, Bosnian word for welcome, but in Rada's interpretation it meant more than welcome. That was the way Rada and her team greet, smile, and hug people coming to their conferences, and the way they sent the message, this is your conference, enjoy it. And we did. Thank you, Rada, for that, and for many more.
Who says we can't change the world? That was the slogan of the step-by-step program in the first years, and it captures Rada's mission in life, to to make Bosnia and the world a better place for children. Her approach was to keep believing that change is possible and to never give up, no matter how impossible things might seem. When I met Rada in 1995, education reform in Bosnia seemed impossible. Rada had just been hired by the Open Society Foundation in Bosnia to launch Step by Step. She and a colleague managed to get out of Sarajevo in those difficult times near the end of the war, in the middle of winter, to join a big regional meeting in Budapest. Rada was young. She arrived without a coat and missing one tooth that had been pulled because she couldn't get any antibiotics. What she did bring with her, though, along with all of the loss and anxiety from living through the siege in Sarajevo and losing her parents in the war, was an incredible warmth, intelligence, and insight, a passion to change things, and a beautiful, unforgettable singing voice. She became instantly a great friend of many and a vital member of the emerging network that became ISA. Rada created an exceptional step-by-step program in preschools and primary schools all across Bosnia. She established the Center for Education Initiatives and was among the founders of the International Step-by-Step Association. At one time, she served as the president. We stayed up half the night, Rada, Susanna from Macedonia, and I in Dubrovnik, when ISA was founded, to create the first ISA brochure. The cover photo was a papier-mâché globe created by children in Bosnia, a symbol of a better world that she wanted to create. Rada was on numerous committees and working groups, including the core group of 11 that created the ISA standards or principles, and the team that revised the step-by-step methodology, creating child-centered classrooms in 2015. She always brought out-of-the-box ideas to every meeting. She was an incredible educator and innovator, a disruptor, a true leader, and someone that so many of us leaned on and listened to. At a time when Bosnia and the former Yugoslavia were breaking apart, she made it her mission to make sure that everyone stayed together. She united educators from across all 3 nationalities in 13 cantons in Bosnia when that seemed unachievable. Each summer, she welcomed teachers, directors, educators from across the region to the most amazing annual summer conferences. She explained to me once how she did it. It was by focusing on professional issues, she said. Though the region was scarred by war and driven apart by politics, she kept all of that out of events and workshops. No to politics, no to war. She created a safe space for everyone who joined her to renew and refresh, to leave inspired and ready to take on the world, to change it, and even to heal it. Her work took her around the world, and I'm sure she had many opportunities to move to different countries, but she always returned to the place she loved most, Sarajevo in Bosnia. That's where she planted and nurtured seeds of hope and change, of peace and flourishing that can grow in future years. We love you, Rada, and thank you for all you've done for children and families in Bosnia and beyond.
I remember Radmila telling me stories about the Balkan Wars and how when her community was being bombarded daily, she helped keep a beacon of hope. She was a beacon of hope for her community.
And when I think of Radmila, I'm thinking of her in the middle of a circle of people. She was so magnetic, and she used her humor to bring people together and to get things done.
Dear Rada, a couple of years ago, you and I were walking together through Sarajevo. It was a beautiful evening, and we talked about life, but also we talked about the war, what the war did to you and to so many people that you have known. But you focused not on the war, but you focused on the reconciliation, on after the war, on how you used early childhood education, young children, to bring people again together and to think about the future. And a couple of years later, we were sitting again in a group, and all the people of former Yugoslavia were sitting together, and then you were singing. I will never forget your voice, your beautiful voice, the way you were singing. Dear Radha, you have been a great person. I'll never forget you. Bye, Radha.
Hello, Siobhan Fitzpatrick, former Chief Executive Officer with Early Years, the Organisation for Young Children, and currently Chair of the International Network on Peacebuilding. I worked with Radha on the book From Conflict to Peacebuilding, The Power of Early Childhood Services Around the World. Radha contributed a most beautiful chapter about her work in Bosnia and her commitment to building a peaceful, respectful, inclusive society through early childhood and primary education. Her commitment to peace and reconciliation was outstanding. She will be sorely missed.
I first met Radha in 1996 in Washington. That was a training for the new initiative in Step by Step for primary classrooms, and Radha's organization just joined Step by Step. I was struck by the story somebody told about her loss. Her father died on her hands, hit by a projectile splinter in his own home, which brought to me the image of the civil war in the Balkans so vividly, making it such a reality. I was even more impressed, knowing this, by Radha's resilience and her eagerness to look forward and to try to do some constructive things, as if to heal the wounds brought by this horrible war. And as ISA members, we had a chance also to learn from the experiences of those summer camps that she later on organized, which brought together professionals from all those former Yugoslavian countries, believing in a quality education with underlying human values that might really mend those destructive things inflicted by the war. In ISA, we had many wonderful moments to listen to the songs that were singing by the VISA team, by colleagues from the Balkans. And the image of Radha singing and dancing is something that is still thinking in our minds. Well, we had plans to do something together with Radha and Sanya for the primary component in Step by Step. And that was so tragic to find out that Radha left us. We will try to continue things that we were planning together, and that will be in memory of Radha and of this resourceful, wonderful person, full of ideas that she was, but also of a very good friend. Thank you, Radha, for all this.
I to je nama strašno važno i dio konferencije nam je radost djetinjstva, zato što smo mi obrazovanje pretvorili u nešto toliko ozbiljno, a toliko besmisleno, da ga ne vole ni nastavnici, ni roditelji, ni djeca. To je postalo, nije postalo mjesto sreće. Djetinjstvo je sreća samo po sebi, učenje je sreća i radost. I mi želimo negdje da vratimo radost u proces učenja, da vratimo radost u te škole, da vratimo radost i tim nastavnicima, da bi i djeca bila radosna I roditeljima isto tako. Odgoj i obrazovanje po samoj svojoj suštini, esenciji je nešto što je inovativno i što je vizionarski. Jer prije svega naša djeca se spremaju za nekakav svijet i život koji se svaki dan mijenja, svaki dan je inovativan, a snaći se, pronaći sebe, pronaći put, ali i kreirati život i svijet oko sebe zahtjeva inovativnost. I kompetencije modernog društva se jako razlikuju od kompetencija koje smo mi morali razvijati prije 50, 60, 70 godina kada je obrazovanje, odnosno školovanje izmišljeno malo više, malo ranije, jer mi brkamo nekad obrazovanje i školovanje. Obrazujemo se kad otvorimo oči i prvi put imamo kontakt sa svijetom oko sebe pa do kraja života. A školovanje je sistem koji je napravljen da bismo pomogli djeci da se nekako zajednički razvijaju i dobiju neke kompetencije koje im potrebne u životu. Tako da školovanje ne može biti isto prije 100 godina kao što je to i danas. I inovativnost i kreativnost su možda dvije kompetencije koje su, rekla bih, među 4-5 najvažnijih i najsuštinskih u vremenu u kojem mi živimo. Djetinjstvo je čarobno, djetinjstvo je čudesno, ali djetinjstvo je isto samo jedno. Vi ne možete nikad ponoviti djetinjstvo. Možda je nekim nastavnicima to 5., 10. generacija, možda je njima dosadilo, ali tom djetetu u školi je to jedino djetinjstvo.
With time passing, it is still hard and extremely painful to accept that my dear friend and colleague Rada is not with us anymore. With time passing, I'm only more acutely aware of an enormous loss, both professional for the educational community in Bosnia and beyond, but also personal. The loss of a profound friendship and companionship that lasted in continuity for 25 years. Rada had a vision of a better world for children, a just world in which children will grow up in a safe environment, looked upon as worthy human beings in their own right, with full respect of their individual needs, talents, and pursuits. At the heart of this vision was her unwavering faith in humanity, in the capacity of all human beings to learn and grow, to be at their best. And to be at our own best is to fully embrace the responsibility to help younger generations to achieve this goal in whatever capacity we have. As teachers, parents, neighbors, policymakers, journalists, grandparents. This is the goal Rada passionately pursued with energy and unshakable devotion every minute and every day in everything she did. My wish for us is to hold on to this vision and help it be achieved. My dearest Rada, I will miss you and I will cherish you in my heart as long as I live.
You must certainly remember Rada's laughter, that bubbling sound that was so contagious that you couldn't do anything but laugh along. You know her singing, so deep and passionate. You might have danced together with Rada as if you were again 5, as I have. But I wanted to talk to you about Rada's professionalism and its impact on the international level. We both joined Step by Step at the same time, back in 1996. Rada's capacity to create opportunities for professional growth set her apart very quickly. She would bring her attention to detail to every project. Her communication and people skills were excellent, and she had some very innovative ideas which she carried out until the end. Rada was so capable of taking control of big projects and executing them to the fullest while keeping her smile and everlasting zeal. She would be so enthusiastic, even in the face of daunting deadlines, and always available to lend a hand to other step-by-step NGOs when necessary. Rarely have I come across someone who was talented at both big picture ideas and executing the small details. Rada was just that person. Our teachers were so jealous that they couldn't attend the teacher conferences held in Bosnia each year due to language barriers. I truly hope that we can organize an Albanian-speaking teachers conference inspired by Rada's model, and I'm sure that her spirit will be with us when this event will take place. I remember one time her saying that you keep on pushing the rock to reach the top of the mountain, and then all of a sudden you need to run for the rock not to take you over. But she did it both. She pushed the rock and controlled it so gracefully that we could only stop and admire what she was capable of. I'm sure that her uniqueness had a rippling effect, both for national step-by-step NGOs and for ISTA. I'm sure that ISTA is stronger due to having Rada in our family. I can't count the times when I'd meet an expert or senior level professional from the four corners of the world and she or he would say, "Oh, you're from Step by Step. I know Radmila." Or even, "Do you know Rada?" "Do I know Rada? She's my buddy. She's my inspiration." And she will always be. Shine on, dear friend.
I have met Rada not too long ago, and to this day, I feel sorry that I haven't seen her step-by-step network, have not visited her School of Thinking program. Even when she and Nedim have come to Russia to present it, I sadly had a conflicting agenda. However, I felt immediately sorry that I have missed it, because those who have participated in training were so exhilarated about the experience. My colleagues and I were planning to invite Rada to teach an entire course for our new BA program, but this unfortunately will not happen. We have worked together with Rada on NEP's board, and it was a wonderful experience, very informal, very positive, very constructive. I always wanted to visit Sarajevo, and my first visit failed, but finally I did manage, and God, Rada was such a wonderful hostess. Now I realize that she already knew her diagnosis, but one could never tell that. She was joyful and energetic and full of new ideas. Most of all, I'm sorry that I have never heard her singing. Now that I have heard the recording, I know what I have missed. Rada means joy, and joy she was. I could never tell how old she was. She seemed eternally young. People like her, when they leave, a big black hole remains. And my heart is with everyone who loved Rada, her family, and friends. Rest in peace, dear Rada.
Dear friends and colleagues, it's a real honor to be invited to participate in this commemoration for Rada, one of the most dedicated persons who gave so much to education and the whole society. We had the great pleasure to meet and work with Rada through different trainings, conferences, and regional projects, where she so naturally and passionately displayed her love for education and people and her exceptional commitment to facing any challenges toward sustainable development and improvement. Our first experience of a great cooperation with Rada was in 2014, when CAF became part of a regional partnership project on inclusive education with other NEP's member organizations, where Rada's great passion for education, positive energy and attitude, great communication, cooperation and coordination skills, and willingness to share her rich knowledge and experience with all of us made us feel as if we knew her for years, and she also made us feel like a real family. She valued the partnership and helped nurturing a mutual understanding, and respect. It was so nice and enriching to attend her passionate, participatory, and high-quality presentations, workshop and training sessions where she demonstrated a great knowledge and expertise. We've always been amazed at and inspired by Rada's immense positive energy, great kindness, humbleness, high professionalism and commitment to bringing about positive changes in the lives of so many children, teachers, parents, and in the whole education system. Rada's contribution was enormous, is enormous, and we deeply believe that she left a legacy.
Pamtimo je kao nasmeja, energičnu i veselu, posvećenu obrazovanju, spremnu za novo i drugačije, volju da uči i deli znanje. Nedostaje.
Glad that I'm given a chance to say what I think and what I feel about Rada. You know, when people are with us, very often we forget to share our appreciation, to share our feelings, to share our respect with these people. And now it is a chance I can share what I think and what I feel about Rada. Rada was special. When I joined that step-by-step program, it was 4 years after the first cohort of step-by-step leaders started working. And I was inexperienced, and I was looking at them like as role models, as true leaders. And they were, and they are. And I was trying to learn everything from them. And Rada was one of the most generous in sharing, generous in sharing dreams, plans, lessons learned, And I was learning. And I always say that whatever I did something good in the organization which I led, it is because I was learning from Rada and from other leaders. But Rada was one of the most generous. And probably you remember his step-by-step meetings, ISA meetings. As usually, someone keeps silence, someone talks but not too much. But Rada was always very active because she was caring. She cared about ISA. She cared about where ISA is going, how it's going, what members can do, what ISA can do. And she always was bright, and her ideas were brilliant and special, even if sometimes we may not agree with some of the ideas. But it was clear that she cares. She was a role model for me. Initially, I also was keeping silence. And then, learning and being inspired by Rada, I also started talking and never stops now. So Rada, you taught me how to care and how to be active and not to be indifferent. You were very caring. You were a role model. I also noticed that leaders usually have followers according to theory, but Rada never had followers. She always had leaders around. So she was not a leader and followers. She was a leader who was leading a team of leaders. Maybe it was her talent to attract the best people and to work with them as a team. I learned a lot from Rada. And as everyone, I will miss her. She was too young to leave us. But she was so bright that we keep so many memories about Rada. The only thing I could not learn from her, and will never learn, it was her singing and dancing. She was special with this. And I'm sure that whenever I will be listening to Balkan music, Balkan songs and dances, I will be thinking of Rada because she was the best. Thank you.
Preventative Social Research has a long-standing collaboration with the Center for Education Initiatives Step by Step. As two directors of organizations that have collaborated successfully, Radmila and myself collaborated very intensively since 2012. Working with Radmila was not always easy. Following her ideas and the goals that she created in her head was sometimes very hard to grasp. She used to say that education is a place of growth. She empowered teachers to make the educational system better with the goal of growth of all educational actors, teachers, students, but parents also. She decided to dedicate her professional life on the most influential professional in the world, teachers. The enthusiasm she spread was inexhaustible, her energy magical, and her commitment unstoppable. She never gave up and never doubted about the teachers. She always gave them the importance that a good teacher deserved. She was open, gifted, sensitive, educated, charismatic. When she spoke, she captured attention. She was tireless, influencing the development of teaching profession. I have never met anyone who has done it with more passion, commitment, and dedication. Education in Bih lost a lot. All of us lost a lot. Dancing with the angels, dear Radmila.
Dear all, I would like to start this homage to Rada with the saying from Eleanor Roosevelt. Great minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, and small minds discuss people. This was a difficult task for me. I needed a lot of time to think what to say about Rada, and in the format where I'm expected to be insightful and analytical and even objective when talking about her. Rada, whose loss I feel so deeply, whom I miss every single day. I feel insecure because she was the only one who could tell me this is good and I would believe it. So I was wondering, what made me believe to her so deeply? Why I needed her confirmation and praise? Because Rada was a visionary. Her thinking was systemic and always embedded within the wider systems. She saw the education as a part of bigger ecosystem which borders does not stop at the country borders. She perceived education as adaptable and subversive moving force of society. Some could say, those are all illusions. What is going on? Are you wearing the pink glasses? Do you see the situation we are in? Those people who say or ask these questions, they cannot reach to discuss about ideas. Our Rada dealt with ideas and realized them through different activities which became her signature piece of work. Rada did not deal with the education policy in a way that ordinary people do. She was deeply aware of the major political issues in education in Bosnia and Herzegovina, like discrimination and social inequalities, structural segregation, curricula and textbook policies that promote language separation. She had a deep understanding of how legislation of one country can explicitly and implicitly influence the quality and equity in education. She was writing about low quality, content-based curricula, teacher-centered pedagogical approach focused on memorization. But she never let problems throw the shadow on the future. She worked hard, long hours to create new things, to overcome the problems, and to awake and motivate and make people come on the other side of solidarity, helping each other, believing in each other, sharing the common goals. However, her passion was a teacher professional development. That was really her real passion. She was aware that the quality of teacher professional development in Bosnia and Herzegovina was low and insufficient to meet the new requirements of teaching. She believed in teachers deeply and unconditionally, always emphasizing that even though their motivation for learning is generally high, they are not sufficiently supported, even when the burden and expectations are really over the top. From March until September 2020, she sat day in, day out, preparing the materials to support teachers navigate through the sea of online teaching. The role of school management was also very important for her. The role of school management in creating school climate and culture of change was a very significant topic in her maybe last few projects. She collaborated with schools with the goal to create the school policy as inclusive and transparent as possible in order to fight politicization and corruption. One of her greatest contributions to education policy in recent years are standards of teachers' profession. She was so passionate. She worked so hard on them, connected people from the whole Bosnia and Herzegovina to finally find the holy grail of any profession, to have standards. The standards are one of the few strategic documents now in Bosnia and Herzegovina adopted and approved by all sides in Bosnia and Herzegovina. They are now the basis and the core of teacher professional development. Rada's legacy is like a sea, wide, blue and inviting, and very, very reassuring. I miss her deeply, so much it hurts. But however, I see her in her work, in my friends, and that's why I feel calm. She is now in a good place. Thank you, Rada, for everything.
Dear Rada, it is such a joy and honor to know you. I wish I have told you this in person, looking to your friendly eyes. Hope you can hear what I say today. You are welcoming, always keen to share. You have a unique skill to make us feel comfortable. When we are with you, we can share our ideas openly. You never judge, but try to understand. You elegantly and so easily help us to explain ourselves better, as if you see our minds better than ourselves. And you're definitely a great hugger. Makes us feel like home. Thank you, Rada. I love you.
It's a very sad, really a sad reason to be here and to share my memories about Radas, because I can't speak really. I can imagine that now I have to think about her in past time. But since I learned about this very bad news, I was thinking and I was returning back to our time when we spent together in Sarajevo, in Zagreb, in Baku. Also, it was many years ago. And I found really that she's still in life, really, with her. I will be remembering, and I think that everyone everyone will share this feeling with me, that she was really the person who was so generous in sharing her ideas,
her emotions, always positive emotions. She was great optimist. I never met the person like with such great optimism like Rada's. And I remember she was, of course, we've been talking about education as always. And actually, it was education as a lens, as a light, and through this light of education, we've been discussing everything. Our culture, dialogue between culture was in hard time for both of our country, Azerbaijan and Bosnia, Herzegovina, and children, families, our families' experience. And she was full the thoughts, and always it was very interesting, her observation and how she was connecting the real life with her passion. Her passion, of course, it was education. And once we've been discussing the transition in education, it was topic of training or seminars or transition when child is always crying, and it's a big stress and stressful situation for child to go and to be in the kindergarten. And she was sharing her observation when her office was on the top floor of the building, and the first floor it was the kindergarten, and she was describing with her typical sense of humor. She was describing the child who was crying, saying no, keeping the hand, trying to be together with mother, not to go to the kindergarten space, etc. And she said that in 5 minutes, I was seeing that this child, he was so happy to be in the kindergarten, and any depression, any crying, etc. And she was describing this moment of happy child, and I think that she's really was. It was her great passion to be with people, to do the best what it was possible for education, for her country, and not only for her country. I think about Rada as the citizen of the world. Really, she's a great example of this person who is connecting the people, who is making the world around of people more familiar, more happy. And that's why I think that always, and I will remember forever her as a person, what always around of her, they were people. The people, they were listening her, they were laughing with her. She was making happy us when she was singing, and I would like to keep this image.
Dear colleagues, each time I met Rada, I was impressed and inspired by the rare combination of incredibly sharp mind and optimism. She empowered teachers to be sensei, and she's our sensei. She guides our thinking about education, and we will recognize her influence in what we will do in education in future. It is our responsibility to continue her gentle yet determined fight for better education, also supporting her beloved step in keeping being the lighthouse for all of us. Thank you for this opportunity.
So, dear people, on the wings of her legacy, once more thank you for paying the tribute to our Honorable Executive Director. Center for Educational Initiatives Step by Step and a community of innovative teachers will stay on the front line of defending the right of every child for quality education. In that process, we will still need your help from around the world. In the meantime, we will preserve the center step by step as a place where people come together, dream, develop ideas, and create good education in order to keep the joy of childhood for every child.
None of us can be Radha, but all of us can impersonate the values in which she strongly believed and acted with consistency in everything she did, as a human being, as an expert, as a professional. The highest honor that we can express by having had the privilege to be touched by Radha's mind and soul is to uphold those values that drove her and impacted so powerfully the lives of so many children and professionals and friends. She was saying we should be more celebrating us and the people around us and be proud of ourselves because of the courage that we have to carry on and to do what we do. Indeed, we are invisibly connected through our networks, be that ISA or NET, and professional communities. And we have to continue creating as many opportunities as possible to celebrate the richness of thought and passion that exists in our networks and the beauty of human connection. They are the real engines of our collective action and soul. And she was also saying, the strength is in choosing the kindness and humanity. As she was always walking the talk of, and one of the strongest advocates of critical thinking in children's education, but also in adult education. She was also a challenger, driven by the strong belief that, and I'm quoting her, education should foster deep thinking and the pleasure of knowledge in which we see our minds growing, and that education should be about learning together intergenerationally. Well, while staying connected, we should continue challenging ourselves, be critical and warm friends to each other, as times are changing fast. And we will certainly need to find a very good balance between progressive and conservative values and thinking. A good compass we all have are the grounding values that we keep close to heart when we define our image of the child and childhood, our image of the educators. Children and educators were the two cardinal points of Radha's professional life. And for her, the joy of learning, of being assertive, of being able to dream and to follow your dream, for both children and educators, were key to creating a better world and an accomplishment as a complete pedagogue. Because she loved so deeply this profession, she had high aspirations for educators, but she was also the most loyal admirer of their expertise, potential, and work, and their greatest supporter. She was saying, this is my dream, to see teachers who are dreaming of their education and who will say, this is what I want. And she succeeded, and that's a strong legacy. What are our dreams now, each of us, and as a professional community, and which ones we shall pursue collectively? Being warm professionals and critical thinkers, protecting and nurturing the richness in and of the child and of the educators, seeing and advocating for education as the most powerful driver for a healthier, fairer, and kinder society is what we learn from Radha. That is an imperative in our professional identity. In the back of our mind, we might ask ourselves always, what would Radha have thought of this? What would have she said? What would have she done? And we should never cease also to think and laugh or feel ridiculous for enjoying doing funny things when we need. Radha taught us that, and she was so right. It brings us closer and creates powerful memories that would always recall a warm smile on our face.
Thank you all for sharing the tributes, stories, anecdotes, and lessons learned from Radha today. We have all together painted an outline of Radha's portrait as she was as a person, as a professional, as a friend. But there are actually no words or artist who could paint her in her full shining colors. Being modest and not about herself, I'm sure Rada would shy away from all the attention, but I'm also certain she knew and appreciated that many love and respect her, and this does not die. We leave you today with Rada's beautiful vision of futures of education. Let us all keep this in mind as we collectively continue to work for quality education for all children. And let us pass these lessons to others. And in this way, keep Rada's legacy alive for generations to come. Thank you.